Hello and welcome to Author. I am your host Jasveer, and today I'll be speaking with author and ghostwriter Kern Carter. Kern is the author of Thoughts of a Fractured Soul and Beauty Scars. Welcome to the podcast, Kern.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
All right, Kern, please tell the listeners something about you, your life. What do you do professionally, and how do how did you end up writing?
Well, thank goodness for me that I actually write for a living. So I get to do what I love for the most part. So I am a full-time writer. I started. I mean, if you want to go all the way back, I wrote my first book when I was in third grade, so I was 8 years old. So writing's always been something that I genuinely loved and was genuinely passionate about. So um, I was again just I was able to find a way after graduating university. I graduated with an English degree. I was able to just through being curious and through trial and error, just find a way to become a full-time freelance writer. Um, and that's what I've been doing since about like the last 10 years. Just been just writing and writing. Um, but yeah, it's been a great experience. And to clarify, I do all types of writing. So I do copywriting. I've done that and a lot of that in the past, and I do a little bit of that now. But mostly I do ghostwriting. And then of course I write books as well. So that's also very exciting.
Oh, truly fascinating. You rightly said the feeling is amazing when your passion becomes your profession, and it's every writer, every author's sort of dream to write full time. Even
Yeah.
I aspire to write full time someday. Right now I do a side hustle to pay for the rent, for the food. But yeah, hope to make writing my full-time profession someday. And cheers to you living your
Thank
passion.
you. It's
Really
it's
happy
very
about that.
possible. It's very possible. You have to be a little bit versatile, and you have to kind of be really in touch with the culture and trends and kind of what's happening in publishing and the literary world and just writing in general. So again, I've been fortunate, and I love the culture, so I'm always tapped in.
Right. Wonderful. Right. So let's talk something about ghostwriting. A lot of listeners listen to this podcast specifically to learn new things, to get resources, to know about the resources, because I talk to a lot of authors and who share their experiences. So please share your experience in specifically ghostwriting for people who are looking to venture into this field.
Yeah, I would say ghostwriting is a really, really interesting kind of career. I mean, from a very simple perspective, what ghostwriting is basically you just writing for someone else without getting the public credit or the public acknowledgement. So no one knows that you wrote it. So that could actually take shape in different forms. You could ghostwrite speeches. There are speechwriters for, like presidents and stuff like that. But from a much more let's call it attainable goal. There are speechwriters for CEOs of businesses. Like if they want to write a speech or write an article that they want to post on the New York Times, I've done that for a lot of CEOs. Really, it's the way I see it. There's so much opportunity because everything you see posted on the internet, every word that you see on the internet was written by somebody. When you see um, uh, a celebrity or a CEO write an article in Now magazine or let's say Forbes again or Forbes magazine or something like that, 9 times out of 10 they had somebody write it for them, which is a ghostwriter, which is someone like me, who would come along and write it for them. So the great thing about being a ghostwriter is that there's endless opportunity because you could actually ghostwrite pretty much anything. Um, the what I focus on though specifically is ghostwriting books. So yes, I have done ghostwriting speeches and ghostwriting articles and stuff like that. But where my main focus is now, or my focus exclusively, I should say, actually for ghostwriting, is about ghostwriting books and helping people who have really great stories to tell, helping them share their stories and kind of get through the process of writing the books, because everyone wants to write a book, everyone wants to write a story, to be honest. It's just a matter of finding the capability. So like some people are just not capable writers, and having a really good story that's interesting and intriguing, and that's a little bit different. And that's what I'm able to do. I'm able to listen to someone orally tell me what their story is, find that one point in the story that feels really unique and really powerful or really memorable, and kind of use that story as a theme to help them um, express whatever message they want to express and express whatever story they want to express. So it's a fun and exciting kind of career to have.
Yeah, truly amazing. And have you done some kind of non-fiction stories as well? For example, biographies or maybe life stories?
Oh, definitely. I'm working on, and when I say I mean me and my team. So I have another partner, creative partner who kind of formulates my team. So we're working on and have worked on many nonfiction stories. To be honest, that's what we do. We don't do any very few. I shouldn't say not any, because we're doing a fiction story now, but we do mainly nonfiction or memoir stories. So either CEOs who are like business owners and they want to talk about that, we do those stories.
Hmm.
Although we're also getting away from that because we realize those stories are not usually not very good. Um, but what we're finding now, what we've been looking for is just like those nonfiction or memoir stories that are powerful. Like right now we're talking about, and I can't tell you the name of the person, but we have a
Hmm.
story now about a teacher who was actually an alcoholic for years, for years and years, for at least a decade, while they were still teaching. So we have a story that we just finished writing for that. We have another story. Which one can I tell? We have another story about, because I signed NDA, so there's some
No, don't worry
restrictions
about
on
the
what I could
names.
tell. But still,
Yep.
I want to give the audience an example. We have another
Yep.
story about one of the in Toronto, like one of the youngest professionals to get this really high level job, and he's a black man too, so it's really exciting. We have like it's just like a whole bunch of just incredible stories that are just meaningful and purposeful, but because we have the ability to write, and we have the understanding of the publishing industry, that's what we're able to share with these people who become our clients.
Yeah, and it's truly amazing to be in somebody else's shoes, think like them, and write their story. I mean, I've done that with a biography, but then that is like credited to me. That's not ghostwriting. I've written somebody else's story, and that's my book, but it's
Yeah.
somebody else's story. And it was truly fascinating to be in his shoes, think like him, think differently, not like you, but like the person you're writing about. And I think ghostwriting is really fun activity to do, and if it pays you, nothing like it. Right?
Yes, yes. And it
Yeah.
does pay, by the way. I
Yeah.
really want the viewers to know, the listeners to know that. Like it's the very least that you would charge for a ghostwriting story is 10 grand. And that's like the very, 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 very least you would charge for ghostwriting a story, a full book. Um, so it could be a lucrative career. It does, I mean, you do have to make sure you're also good at other things in business as well, like finding clients and or creating a system for finding clients, and then putting together process and stuff like that. Those things do take time, and it's important. But if you're able to kind of understand business elements, like it's a really great way to earn income, without by doing something that you actually really love and enjoy. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, yeah, and those are truly big bucks. I'm sure a lot of listeners would be motivated to do ghostwriting now that you
Please go.
mentioned. Yeah. No, next time I read an impressive, or rather hear an impressive speech by a CEO or a president, I'm going to think about Kern. I'm going to think about the amazing work that you're doing. It's truly amazing, right?
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. So, Kern, let's talk about writing as a process. What does writing mean to you? You've been doing it for a long time. It's your
Mhm.
profession, but what does it really mean to you?
Um, for me, it's more than a profession because it's become a part of who I am. Like I think I think writers and maybe creatives in general have there are two ways they can look at their careers and what they do, their profession. They can look at it as a profession, or as something that they do, or they could look at it as part of who they are. And I choose the latter because to me it's so writing specifically is so personal. At least my writing. It's so personal. It's so, even the fiction that I write, even my books, which are fictional books, are based on observations from my life, or sometimes even actual things that happened within my life. And when you get into that deep level of writing, and when you think about the amount of time that you put into it, a book takes months just to get a first draft out, and then sometimes years before it comes out into the world. And me, I write every single day, and like that kind of attention and love and kind of nurturing is it can't, for me anyway, it can't be something outside of myself. Like I'm giving my soul to it, and when readers read it, I want them to feel that. I want them to feel like they're reading part of part of me, and part of my soul, and part of what makes me who I am. So I go all the way in. For me, writing is I would write, and I do write still. I would write for absolutely free if I could live like that. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, this is capitalism, so I try to get all the money I can. But at the same time, like I love it, um, like 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 it's part of me. Like I love it like it's part of my body, and something
Mhm.
that I yeah, I can't even put it into words.
Yeah, truly, when you put your soul into something, the results are really awesome. Vis-a-vis something that you're doing as a profession or maybe as an obligation, the results
Mhm.
are surely different when you're putting your soul into it. Truly amazing. Right. So, let's talk about again the writing process. What is the most difficult part of your writing process, and how do you overcome that? Please share that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say the most difficult part is probably oh, getting started. Getting started is really tough. Like, and it depends on what the project is. So if it's writing a book, the most difficult part is definitely getting started. Like finding that flow, finding the opening frames of the story that I feel are going to be most captivating for me. Like I put a lot of time into like the first paragraph. I want to earn the reader's trust right off the bat. So like if you look at my first two books, and even I have another book coming out called Boys and Girls Screaming, that'll be coming out in next spring. The openings are incredible. They're probably some of the best. Like it's just, it captures you right away, and that's intentional because I don't want to, I'm not someone, even if the story starts off slow, I want the excitement to, I want you to feel the excitement or feel intrigue from the very beginning, even if like it's actually not much happening as far as plot. So I think getting started is really difficult. And what I do is I actually don't get to overcome it. I don't get too locked into any one approach. So I would try a lot. Like I've the last book, Beauty Scars, I rewrote the opening paragraph like without exaggeration at least 20 times, where I just rewrote it, but I continued writing the story because I mean I could tell the rest of the story without that opening. But um it really it's I think it's beneficial to just try different things and not get um too precious about whatever you've written. And that goes for every part of your story. There's a term in writing that you say kill your darlings, where you have to kill the things that you love, and you have to cut the parts of the story that you love. I think that's super important. You have to be able to get comfortable with that, because you're going to have things in there that sound great and they flow so beautifully, but they just don't fit the story, and you have to
Mhm.
be able to cut it. And if you don't have that intuition, and if you don't have that courage, you end up with fluff, and that never works out.
Mhm. True, true. Right. Let's talk about your books. Please tell us something about your books.
Um, Thoughts of a Fractured Soul is the first book I've ever written, and that one is about what I essentially did was fictionalize my life, because when I first started writing, I didn't, even though I knew I wanted to be an author, I didn't know what I wanted to write about. So I just started writing about my life because I didn't want to procrastinate. But as I got through that, I was like, oh no, this is not what I want to write. I don't want to talk about my life. I'm just not ready to be that honest yet. But then I found a story within there that I thought was beautiful, and it was just about a story of I say failure, but it really is a story of stagnation. It's a story about a single teenage father, which is just as representative of myself. But I looked at my life and looked at it because I was really young when I was writing this. I was in my early 20s. I was like 22. So I was looking at it and I was like, what if I fail? What if all the decisions I make from here on out are just wrong, 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 wrong? Um, so my first book is just a story about failed potential, about someone who is intelligent, incredibly intelligent, and someone who is ambitious, and someone who had a strong mother figure in their life and everything, but just like for whatever reason, he just keeps making the wrong decisions and ends up being completely stagnant and feels like a failure. Um, and I tell that story I call it Thoughts of a Fractured Soul because the story is told in thoughts and literally like sporadic thoughts. So the story is not linear at all. The story kind of jumps around in time because it's meant to mimic the way that we think. But by the end, you have a clear picture of what this character has gone through and is going through and his emotions and stuff like that. So that's Thoughts of a Fractured Soul. And then Beauty Scars was much more creative. Like it wasn't as tied to my real life as Thoughts of a Fractured Soul. But Beauty Scars is really about these two teenagers who kind of grow up dreaming about each other and they see each other in their dreams. And one day they eventually meet. And it's really a love story about again these two young people and how far they will go to kind of stay together and what they'll do to save their relationship and preserve their relationship. And I call it Beauty Scars for a couple of reasons. First of all, like it's a bit fantastical, as you could tell by the description, but I call it Beauty Scars because at the beginning of the book, the main character, her name is Treasure, gets hit by a car, but instead of becoming scarred, she actually becomes more beautiful. And the deep meaning of the book, this is not the surface story, but the deep meaning of the book, the theme of the book and the message of the book is really about the power of beauty and what that means, physical beauty, and what that means in a world, and what that means is someone who never had beauty before, when they realize the power that they now have. That's one of the reasons I call the story Beauty Scars. And then the other reason is because like the backdrop to the story is Toronto, and Toronto's like a beautiful city with you know a vibrancy that is completely unique, but at the same time there are some really ugly parts to the city. So I wanted to talk about those scars that the city has itself, like as a community. So that's kind of the other reason I call it Beauty Scars. So yeah, those are the two books that I've written, and one more coming out too called Boys and Girls Screaming, but that's not out yet. So yeah, you could get that when it comes out next year. My agent would be upset if I talk too much about it.
Right, guys, Thoughts of a Fractured Soul and Beauty Scars. Both books are available on Amazon and Amazon Kindle in ebook and paperback format. Grab your copy now. Right, Kern, I'm really curious about Thoughts of a Fractured Soul because it's your story, right? So let's have a short chapter read or your favorite lines from the book for the listeners.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm going to read two or maybe three very short parts these are my favorite parts. So I'll start off with this one. This is near the end. This used to be me. I see them all through the fence, running back and forth in the schoolyard playing touch tag. I see some of them in the corner whispering secrets to each other, secrets of crushes and dreams, wishes and gossip. This used to be me. I see them through the fence. They do as they are told, hurry to line up single file when the bell rings, fill their knapsacks with the day's lessons to take home to parents that give more instructions. They listen. They listen because they believe that anything is possible. They've been told that over and over and over again, that they can do anything, be anything, that nothing is out of reach. Everything is possible. I used to be them. So that's one part, and I'm going to read the last part of the book. This is actually the last section and the last words of the book. So this is also one of my favorite parts.
Mm-hmm.
I kept my thumb on the lighter and stared at the flame. I'm lying in bed with the blunt dangling from my mouth unlit. My room door is closed and the window half open. Thoughts run through my mind. Nothing I can grasp. Nothing I can hold on to. I put the lighter to the tip of the blunt. A cloud of smoke rises and fades away till I take another puff. I feel overwhelmed even though I don't actually feel anything at all. I take another puff, then another. The clouds begin to linger and spread around the room. Some ashes have fallen absently on my chest. I think of an escape. Thank you.
Wow, that was nice. Especially the first part.
Yeah.
All I could think was Pink Floyd and school's out for summer.
Good one. Good one.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much for reading the chapters for us. Right. So, Karan, you are now a seasoned author. You've had 2 books published. You've got third book coming up. So, let's talk about the publishing process, which is the most difficult part of the publishing process that you really hate, and which is your favorite part of the publishing process.
Really good question again. I'm again fortunate, or I guess I've had different experiences with publishing. So I self-published my first 2 books, um, which was, I mean, it was difficult because you pretty much everything is on your shoulders, from the marketing to the any kind of publicity to the administrative stuff to setting up your own book launches. So there is a lot of pressure, and trying to get distribution, which people really underestimate. People don't understand the significance of distribution and what that means to the sales of books. People just look at Amazon and think all your books are going to come through there, but having a nationwide distribution platform is actually essential. But like, yeah, so that stuff was like having all that pressure on you was actually probably the most challenging. But also what I think it did was it helped me out a lot, because it taught me how to build an audience. It helped me understand every part of the industry. So when I got my book deal in earlier this year, I got my book deal in January. When I got it, like, I'm coming into the publishing industry, like officially, I'm doing air quotes, officially coming into publishing and the literary industry, like super seasoned. Like, I understand every part of it. So I was able to understand parts of the negotiations, to make sure I kept certain rights of my book. I understand what their responsibilities are. I understand what I need to do as far as making sure that I'm connected to which part, like making sure I'm connected to the marketer, and making sure I know how many copies are going to put out in the first print run. Like, I know all of these things only because I studied the industry and I was able to self-publish my first 2 books. So the tough part, I guess, again, was having everything on your shoulder. But the even tougher part of being traditionally published is actually the waiting, because the way the process kind of works is that to get traditionally published, you have to get an agent. I'm just talking generally speaking here. You have to get an agent, and then that agent has to pitch your book to a publisher. So to get an agent, it took me 1 year to get an agent, and then that agent didn't work out. It took me another year to sign another agent. So it took me about 2 years to get an agent who would pitch my book. And then after that 2 years, it took another year for the agent, or I would say like maybe about 6 months or so, 6 to 8 months before they were able to get a deal, before we got the deal signed. You know what I'm saying? So that's like a 3-year process just to get a book deal. Yeah, it's a long process just to get a book deal. So the waiting is actually torture. Like, it's very, very emotionally difficult to sustain your energy and your focus and your enthusiasm, which is why you have to love this. Like, I tell any writer, if you're coming into this game and your goal is to be published, and your goal is to sell a lot of books, and your goal is to, make this a living, make this a career, especially as an author specifically, not just a writer or a ghostwriter or a copywriter, but being an author specifically, you have to be ready for the long game. You have to be ready for rejection. You have to be ready to be emotionally tough. You have to be really, really thick-skinned. There's a lot that comes with it, and if you're not ready for that emotionally, then it's going to be a rough ride.
Oh, true. You require a lot of patience when it comes to traditional publishing. Self-publishing, everything is in your hand. It's your money. It's your manuscript. Whether or not you get it edited or not, the publishing process is in absolutely your hand. You get the majority of the royalty. Of course, royalty is more in terms of self-publishing. Traditional publishing it's fairly less, but the process is lengthy, and your book gets a huge amount of limelight when it comes to traditional publishing. They have tie-ups with stores. They do book tours. They have book reading sessions. So I mean, everything costs money. If you target everything in self-publishing, it's going to cost a lot of money. right? But in
Yes.
traditional publishing, they are doing all the work, they are spending all the money.
Yes.
And I think that patience is required to deal with when it comes to the traditional publishing process, and it's worth it, right?
Absolutely. I think so. I think it's worth it. We'll see next year. Tom,
Yeah.
call me back on here next year and I'll tell you if it was worth
No, true. For
it.
somebody who is moving from self-publishing to traditional publishing, it's a totally different experience, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
very
is.
few authors are lucky to have, sort of cracked a deal with their first book
Yeah.
with a traditional publisher. But most self-publishers move from traditional publishing after, let's say, one, two, or three self-published books. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
you're right. It's a process that requires a lot of patience. Yeah, and you have to be thick-skinned. All right.
It's
So
true.
yeah, yeah. And what do you require in your writing space? You're a full-time writer. It's kind of your
Mhm.
profession and passion both. So what do you require in your writing space that sort of helps you stay focused?
Um, it's routine and schedule. I'm someone who works independently, so it's very important that I have a routine. Wake up every morning at 5 o'clock. Start writing right away. Um, stop at 8, work out, have breakfast. Like it's just making sure that the routine is 100% set every single day because that keeps me productive, keeps me focused, it gets me better at my craft. So those things are essential. And then the other thing is just like making sure I'm studying my craft, making sure I'm studying um, writing itself, like like the actual craft of it. I put myself um, through novel writing school right before Corona happened. So 2019, I went to novel writing from January till August, and then from the beginning of January 2020 till right when Corona, well, up until Corona happened, a little bit after, I was in another novel writing class. So I'm always kind of upgrading my education and studying the craft, I read a lot of statistics. I subscribe to different newsletters that talk about publishing. So it's to me that element of it. So I understand like the full scope of the industry. I think is super important for me, anyways, to understand everything. Because again, I want to know every part of the process so I can manipulate the process and just understand like if my book is doing well, why is it doing well, and how can we do better? If my book is not doing well, what adjustments do we have to make? I want to be able to make those suggestions to my publisher. Without just depending on their input, like I want to know all of that. So yeah, like I would say those things to me are necessary, that and like absolute quiet. I'm not someone who works well in noise. Just from a very like functional standpoint, I need that's probably another reason I wake up so early. I can't work with like too much noise unless it's like little noises like the wind, or like I live downtown, so um like streetcar bells, stuff like that I'm comfortable with. I like those sounds, but like noise I'm not good with.
Right. So, what do you like to do when you're not writing?
Hmm. What do I do when I'm not writing? uh Working out and listening to music. That's probably what I do most. And watching TV. So it's pretty simple with me. um I mean, reading too. Does reading count? I feel like reading and writing are so similar. I do a lot of reading. I work out 3 or 4 times a week. During Corona time, I've been doing a lot of walking, and yeah, and I listen to music. I would say those are the things I probably do the most.
Right, wonderful. And which writers have inspired you? Who does Kern read when he's not writing?
Um, wow, so many. Khalid Hosseini is one of my absolute favorite authors. I think A Thousand Splendid Suns is one of the most brilliant books ever. Um, Kim Twee is a Canadian author. She wrote a book called Rue. Madeline Tien wrote a book called Do Not Say We Have Nothing, which is absolutely beautiful. Um, Andre Alexis, another Canadian writer. But I mean, the ultimate number one inspiration for me is Toni Morrison. She's the reason I felt I had the courage to start writing my first book. When she passed away a couple years ago, or Yeah, a couple years ago now. Wow. It was hard for me. I was in Montreal at the time, and I was just like really it was kind of wild. But yeah, those ones inspire me, and Marlon James as well. Marlon James wrote A Brief History of Seven Killings, which is another incredible story, and the style that he writes in. Um, and the like he talk about a brave writer who's just like, I'm just gonna go for it, and if people like it, they like it. They don't, they don't. Marlon James is like probably one of the bravest writers, um, contemporary writers anyway, that I can look at and say, you know what, like I like his bravery. I like the way he really, like, you could tell he's writing exactly what's in his head and exactly what's in his mind and exactly in the way he wants to tell it. You know, it's not like obstructed by editing or anything like that, or it's not filtered in any kind of way. It's really brilliant. So yeah, he's another one that I really love.
Right. So, hypothetical question, if your book were made into a movie, which actors would you like to play the characters?
Good one, good one.
You're the casting director of your own book.
I'm the casting director. Who would I want to play the movie? Let me see. If we did Doctor Fractured Soul, I would probably want, you know what? I don't know. I don't know the young actors' names so well. So I don't know any young actors I would take. Oh, I'll probably, but for Beauty Scars, I'll probably want oh, what's her name? It starts with a Z. I can't remember her. Oh, Zendaya. I'll probably want Zendaya to play Treasure.
Okay.
That would be my dream. If Zendaya could play Treasure, or if Zendaya could play in Boys and Girls Screaming, the book coming out that I have coming out next. If Zendaya could play, the main character's name is Ever. If she could play Ever, that would be my dream. I would love that.
Right. And who do you want to play yourself?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. I would say Michael B. Jordan.
Okay.
I would
So
say
if Thoughts of a Fractured Soul is made into a movie, we'll see Michael B. Jordan.
yeah, if younger Michael B. Jordan. You know,
Yeah.
I would say that because I don't know like young actors' names, so I can't think of any off the top of my head. Um, who can I think of off the top of my head who's a little bit younger? Yeah, I can't think of anyone. But yeah, so I'm gonna go with Michael B. Jordan.
Okay, that's going to be fascinating watching him. The younger version of him.
The younger version, the younger version.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Karan, thank you so much. That was fascinating conversation. And I think the listeners would have learned a lot about ghostwriting and writing in general. But the meat of the matter is, guys, if you can make it your passion, if you can make something your passion, then sooner or later it will become your profession. Sooner or later it will give you the desired result that you're looking for. But writing is not a short-term activity. It's a long-term investment. It's an investment of your time, your soul, your body, your everything, put behind. It's an art, and you truly need to sort of put your soul behind it, right? All right, Karan, thank you so much for taking time out. I enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully, our listeners would also enjoy the conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
So, guys, that was author Kern Carter for you. You can follow his work on Amazon, and his books are available on Amazon and Amazon Kindle in paperback and ebook format. Grab your copies now. Thank you so much for taking time out to listen to us. I'll be back with another guest shortly. Till that time, have a nice day and stay safe. Thank you.